This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for care by a doctor or other qualified medical professional. This podcast is provided with the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services. If you're looking for help, seek out a qualified medical services provider or other healthcare professional. Welcome to the Live Your Yoga podcast, a podcast dedicated to discovering and sharing all the ways in which yoga can be lived off the mat. Real stories by real people, just like you.
Welcome to the Live Your Yoga podcast. Today's episode is extra special because I'm here with Kris and we are looking back on a shared journey. 10 years of teaching yoga after completing our first 200-hour teacher training together with Your Yoga Flow in Whistler, BC. Kris began her movement journey as a ballet dancer at just 4 years old. Yoga first entered her life during her dance training and quickly became a grounding, essential practice. After retiring from dance, she dove deeper into yoga, completing her 200-hour Hatha and Vinyasa training in 2015, and later expanding her studies in meditation, YHot, and Pilates. In her classes, Kris is known for creating a supportive space that balances strength and softness, challenge and rest. She's passionate about functional movement and believes that stability opens the door to more freedom, physically, emotionally, and energetically. If you've ever practiced with her, you know to expect thoughtful flows, great music, and space to meet yourself exactly as you are. Together, we'll be reflecting on the lessons we've learned after a decade of teaching, the surprises, the challenges, the unforgettable moments, and how yoga continues to shape our lives both on and off the mat. So let's dive in. Hi, Kris.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Maybe you could just start by sharing with the listeners where you are in the world and what your teaching schedule currently looks like.
Right. So I'm in Vancouver, Canada, or Vancouver, BC. I have been teaching predominantly here in the city for the last 10 years off and on. And right now my schedule is a combination of like open classes and privates, that I range within 10 to 15 classes a week, so it keeps me pretty busy. But I like the variety of teaching different styles, which allows my creativity to flow more, which I enjoy. But yeah, that's what life looks like these days.
And is 10 to 15 classes a week like where you want to be at? Is it like your sustainable model, or is it not quite what you want it to look like?
Well, as we all know, the world has definitely shifted a bit. And I think in general, I've definitely been trying to like transition and kind of grow my community a bit more. So I felt like working for a few different studios and kind of getting my style out there in spaces that hadn't seen me before would be a good investment. I'm not sure how long that will stay at for, because I do have another job within the yoga studio as well. So it does keep me a little busy. So long term, it's probably not ideal, but I think like 10 classes a week is probably like the sweet spot for me usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I was doing more pre-COVID and burnt out. And now I'm at about 8 classes a week. And that feels like a model that I could sustain long term.
Yeah.
But it does take time to get there. And like you said, like having the balance of different types of work definitely creates the schedule of your dreams. Yeah. But it takes a while to figure it out, which we're going to dive into.
Yep.
So do you remember us as little babies in our very first training and what we thought teaching yoga was going to be like? And how do you think those early expectations kind of stack up against where we've actually ended up 10 years later? So maybe, yeah, a little on like what you thought it was going to be and what it actually has become.
Well, to be fair, I was a bit of a power junkie. That's how my journey began with yoga. So I was very physical based, and it was all about learning all the tricks. Like I wanted to make sure I could do all like, the handstands, the pinches, like everything, so that I felt like that meant that I was a good teacher then, because it was like, if I'm going to be offering this, then I should be able to do it better than everybody else. So it was a little bit of, an ego-based practice, and those things kind of changed and evolved over time, whereas, injuries come in, age comes in, time comes in. Also working with communities, I think just in general, like I'm sure yoga teachers can agree, you can plan something and then you walk into the room and you're just like, this is not going to work for sure. So just realizing that like this goal that I had of being good at yoga would make me a good teacher, and realizing that actually letting go of that and coming to find like what yoga actually meant to me and why I actually want to keep sharing this with people. And really tuning into that, because I don't think I had that awareness in the beginning. I think it comes from a much deeper place for me now. I think the, nervous system regulation, the grounding, the way that I walk through the world now, I feel like I'm able to hold space for myself in a way I never was able to before. And then obviously for other people now too. So I think as a teacher, it's just evolved to realize that like, it's more of like an experience that I want to be a part of for them. And what, maybe that just gets like, some, what do you call it? Like those like little lights that turn on in your brain to like think things a different way, or, and also ensuring that, yoga is supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be a safe space, and it's supposed to, but I think it's just like growing as a person in general. I mean, I was a lot younger. I was 10 years younger then. I have 10 years more life experience that I've gained, and realizing that like for me, the practice is about now sharing and offering that is accessible to everyone, so that there's a little piece for everybody, and what they decide to do with that is totally up to them. I think before I was more like, this is yoga, and I was following this like, set list of rules, and then realizing that, part of this journey over the last decade is figuring out like, yes, take the things I've learned. And obviously there's been lots of mentorship and like, people I have met that have really influenced me, but also trying to maintain my own voice and what is driving me to continue doing this, because to me, it's more than a job. And, I always want it to be that way, or else it to me wouldn't be a fulfilling career path.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of how I feel about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. It's funny because we were roommates at our 200-hour training, and had never met before, and kind of came together like from two similar backgrounds in a way, because we both were dancers to a professional level, and then both found yoga to support our dance, and then that kind of took over, and for both of us it's now become a career, which is very cool. And I think we kind of came in from the same angle of like yoga practice was an extension of our dance, and it was all about hitting the pretty poses, and it was all about striving for the perfect practice that now we understand does not exist, or it does for us in our own unique way. So I completely agree that this journey of 10 years has been very humbling and has really matured us, which I think obviously is the case. As you get older, you hopefully get more mature. But in terms of the way we view our personal practice and the way we view being a teacher, it's a very different experience to what we probably imagined it was going to be in the beginning. Because I personally thought that my teaching would be teaching people like me, that look like me, that move like me, that I thought that was going to be the type of student that was attracted to my classes. Lots of dancers and people in their at 30s, like I thought you would teach the same type of person that you were.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and I'm sure you feel the same, that your community is very vast and probably very different to who you are in a lot of ways. Like my demographic is mainly the 50 plus female. And I never in a million years would have thought that that's who I would be teaching to. But it's the way the path was unfolded and the way it was meant to be. And I wouldn't change anything. So anyway, with all that said, when you look back over your teaching style now compared to back then, what would you say has been the biggest shift you've made? And why did that come about?
Well, I guess if I'm honest, the biggest shift happened because it was forced upon me. So I basically got diagnosed. I have a form of hypermobility, and it started with me tearing my hamstrings like multiple times throughout teaching. And then the more I started seeing doctors and physios, I got a bit more information and realizing that all of the like lengthening and stretching and opening that yoga was providing for me that came natural to me as a dancer was actually injuring my body, because I was hyperextending over and over and over again into these shapes that looked beautiful on me, but were not actually doing anything good for my body. So over time, learning that the modifications and adjustments that I was making for my body would actually be very positive to bring into my classes. And the more I've actually spoke more about my journey and how understanding that, I think with dance, you learn to like tape it up and keep moving. Like, I feel like yoga was the first time that I actually started to be like, oh, how do I feel when I'm doing this? Because there's not a lot of that. I felt like in my dance career, it was, yes, you're feeling and emoting and all of those things. Yes. But I guess the main takeaway is just that I didn't have that information. I didn't have the education of that level to understand that, first of all, in Vancouver, obviously, there are a lot of very active people. So then I started dealing with a lot of people who had injuries, but not even understanding that now I can look at bodies and be like, oh, you are definitely hypermobile, and here's how we can adjust certain things. And actually learning, like, even for me, like having a soft bend in my knees, like I never used to guide that in my classes. I don't know, like back in the day, that was pretty normal to hyperextend through like form folds and things like that. Whereas now I feel like it's more accepted to bring in like different variations to things. And I think people in general are more accepting because it's more about like what feels good in their body instead of like pushing through to meet the norm or whatever that is for the standard for yoga. So I think, yeah, having those tools, like I saw it was like such a negative because there was a lot of things I had to like take a step back in and I actually don't do in my body anymore, which I thought would make me a worse teacher. Because as you said, I was like, oh my gosh, who's going to come to my power class if I can't actually do this, or like blah, blah, blah. But then also realizing that it kind of opened the door for me to educate myself on different styles of yoga. I'm sure that if you had asked me in the beginning, I probably would not have assumed I would be teaching yin, which I do love now. And I want to do even more education on that because I think that, a well-rounded practice is so important. And I want to be able to facilitate that, whether I'm doing like retreats or like workshops, and be able to provide different experiences and also be able to tap into different parts of the body so that people understand that it is like a full body experience. It's not just like, push and like get into these shapes. And like a workout is like, again, not that I'm saying the physical practice is not beneficial to the body, because obviously it is, but I think there's more to it. And the people that are open to receive that, it's like, I want to be able to offer the different layers of the practice.
I was going to say that, the layers. Yeah. And you probably find that your community is grows because of that, right?
Yeah.
It stops it being like limited to just the most able-bodied person in the room and opens it up to become more inclusive and accessible to lots of bodies.
100%. Yeah. And I think that that's actually so much more rewarding. I think having people come to you and be like, oh, like seeing somebody struggling in something in the class and being like, I know exactly how to fix this, like going over to show them, because I've also struggled with that. Like, I think actually sometimes it's harder to understand if your body has not experienced that. So I think it's given me this level of awareness now that I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I was, again, not super happy about that in the beginning, but I see it now as a gift, like, because I have such a better relationship with my body and my practice now. It is so refined to what like I need. And I think now I structure my classes that way right away. I'm like, oh, that's not going to be, it was so easy for me back in the day to be like, oh, I'll flow through this into this into this. And then when people couldn't do it, I was like, try harder. Like, that's where my brain went. It was literally just like, you're not trying hard. Like, I don't know.
Well, that's probably a lot of your dance training mentality too, coming back around, right? And that shift between like the dance world to the yoga world, we've kind of touched on it already, but like that for me was so eye-opening that all of a sudden the permission was given to be in your body as it is and not try and force or mold your body into shapes for an aesthetically pleasing, like polished finish. That shift was just huge. And I think you're speaking to that a lot with when you talk about working with the limitations and injuries of your own body and then communicating that to your community that are then like, oh my gosh, like I really appreciate that permission to do that version and it still be as beautiful and as, what's the word? Acceptable and impactful, as any other version of it, right? Very cool. So we both obviously had lots of unforgettable teaching moments. Is there one that still either makes you smile or makes you cringe when you think about it? And what did it teach you about yourself as a teacher?
Honestly, I think right now, which is funny because there's a teacher training program going on in my main studio right now. And I have a lot of up and coming teachers now looking to me for like questions and stuff, and seeing how just that like things have evolved and that now I'm actually in that position to like, no, I don't know what I'm saying.
It's all good.
I don't know what I'm saying. So what's the question? I don't even know what I'm saying.
Just something that's making you smile or cringe from teaching. Yeah.
Like had a point.
Now that students are looking up to you as a teacher, trainer, I'm trying to gain.
Oh, right. Yeah. It was that like, I'm having conversations now of like the very beginning of their journey. And so it has recently especially made me really flash back on where I was. And I have to say, it's like, I feel like I've said this to multiple students now where it's just like, there's something about our teaching training experience that I just feel like has been unmatched. Like I have not seen like people explaining their experiences and stuff. I'm just like, I am so glad that we had the experience that we did, because again, to me, it was so much more than yoga.
Oh, like getting like goosies.
It was like right from the like get-go. Like I was like telling Joe the other day, like I met one of the other, what are they called? Students. She like when I was at the bus, like waiting to go up to Whistler, like I met one of the other students that was in our training.
Shout out to Liz.
I was gonna say, hey, Liz, love you. Like still friends to this day. Like met the most like wonderful humans. But I think those classes that we taught, like it was such a big deal to me. Like it was such a big deal that I just like, I know, like I've taught for Lululemon, I've taught for huge events, I've taught for hundreds of people. And yes, like were they great experiences? 100%. Would I do them again? Absolutely. But there's something about like saving up for this training and like taking yourself out of society to be with complete strangers and like live and work and eat and like be with these people on this very vulnerable experience, and then having to come and take all of their classes at the end of this. Like, again, I know like a lot of training, some people aren't even teaching like a full class. Like, I feel like it was very like step by step, it really like set us up. And I feel like that like not only my class that I taught, but like also the classes that we all attended. It's just like something to me. It's like a place like I always go back to of like, just that like I felt so ready and I was not like, and that's what I mean is that I just felt like because it was such a loving, supportive space that I don't know if I will ever match that again because it was so non-judgmental and everybody was really like cheering us on. And I feel like, unfortunately, it's life. Like there's competition and there's whatever. Everyone has their own ego and pride that we're dealing with. So like out in the real world, it's just kind of like you really do have to validate yourself and don't look outwardly for other people to be like, that was great. Like, blah, blah, like you have to own that. But I feel like in that moment, like I know teaching my last class, it felt like everybody was a cheerleader there for me. And it's like, you guys wanted me to do better than even I wanted to do. And like, even the teacher trainers did as well. So it was just like, oh, just like be me and do my thing and like have a good, like it really allowed me to just like fly. And I feel like, yeah, I don't know if I will ever match that like experience again. And just like your friends, like it's just like your, you know, like your colleagues, like like you're like we're all on the same journey. And I don't know, in our teacher training experience too, like I think we were all so open and willing to like share. And like I learned so much about everyone. It was just such a different, like deeper level of connection to the people that I was guiding. It just felt like it was important and it was valuable. And it was like, yeah, like I took that in. I remember like staying after and like sitting with myself because I was like, that moment will never happen again. And I think that gave me that to carry with me that now I don't have to like match that in life because I feel like I've experienced that and I know where, and I always have that place to go back to. So I think now, yes, I've had and there's wonderful people that I have led and guided and teachers that I have worked with. But yeah, I think that's my go-to always is like.
I love that.
So cute. Like not like the best time. Like I would go back every year if I could. Like it was just like, I was such a different person after that. Like
you're so right too with the way you like just describe that whole thing. And when we think about like, when we think about the chakras, that was our home base. Like that was the foundation that we all built it together as a collective. And then we all flew the nest and went off on this journey, knowing like that we had that experience together, that like really authentic anchor that we all felt safe in and supported in. And there are so many teachers from our cohort that have gone on and are still teaching today and thriving in the industry. So it's just a testament to what we created together. And of course, the like amazing teachers that we had and the support system that we built. And so, yeah, like with anything, when you've had a good foundation, then you can thrive. And know that you've got that safety net to always fall back on or go back to if you do feel like you're getting a bit lost or off tangent and you're like or questioning the why. There's always that place to return to and be like, no, this was the feeling. This is why I signed up. This is why I want to do this. So I love that you said all of that because it really was a beautiful experience. And, you know, you always think, oh, stars must align for us all to have picked that location, that training, that time of year, and saved up all that money and committed to the time and gone there. Like it was meant to be that group was there. I was
supposed to go to the Hawaii one. Like I wasn't even supposed to go to the Whistler one.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually got back into a relationship with ladies, not the best choice, but that did influence my decision to not go as far away. But now I'm like, see, like, that's why I really do believe like everything happens for a reason. Right. There's no like, you know, make mistakes. Like it's just the universe guiding you where you need to be. And I feel like now just having that support and knowing that like, yeah, we could all be doing different things. And still to this day, I'm like posting something and then like one of you guys is like engaging on it and like so happy. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I haven't talked to you in forever or whatever. And that's how I feel too. It's like seeing everyone rise is like, all I want. Like that is not, I think, normal necessarily. Like I think teacher trainings have, I don't know if we got on the teacher training rant here, but they've definitely changed and evolved, as so has yoga. And I think sometimes maybe the difference is that we were all like living and like eating together and like sharing, like studying together, sleeping together. Like it was just like, we spent so much time, we were going on, hikes and like,
and having like breakthroughs.
Yeah.
And holding each other in those moments. Because when you are in those intensives, it's a lot. And a lot is, you're like shedding layers, you're hearing other people's vulnerabilities, and that's breaking you open more. And it's a lot. And you do leave a different version of yourself because of it. So anyway, it was just beautiful. And we're very grateful.
Highly recommend. Highly recommend.
Time together. Yeah. Okay. Over the years, our students have definitely been some of our greatest teachers too. Can you think of a time when a student has taught you something profound or changed your approach to your role as a teacher? I've got one for this.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to start. So for me, it's not negative, but it was a lesson. It was a learning. For me, one of the biggest lessons I have had to learn is boundaries. And I learned that the hard way through building what I thought was like a sweet, innocent connection with a more senior student, male senior student, but actually later down the line as the relationship developed, and this was purely at the studio, me in the role as the teacher, them in the role of the student, it started to blur lines. And I realized that this student didn't just see me as their teacher, they saw me as maybe a daughter-like role or a grandchild type role or something like that. And it was starting to become uncomfortable for me. But it was very hard for me because I don't like confrontation. I'm definitely a people pleaser. So it was very hard to renegotiate the line of teacher student and educate this person also on what that was. Since that experience, I have, I think, created stronger boundaries about how much of myself I'm willing to share in classes, how much time I'm willing to give to students before and especially after class, because I find that it can be a really blurry gray area. And it's a work in progress still, 10 years in. But that's something that has been a big learning for me.
Yeah, I feel like I've also experienced that as well. And I think, being very clear too, like sometimes people see their yoga teachers as their therapists, as their physio. Like the questions that I get often now, like, especially because I do focus a lot on functional movement and stuff. So people will come up to me and there's certain things and they're disappointed that I'm like, I can give you this much knowledge, but this is definitely something that you need to take away to like a physician or physio or something like that. And I think a lot of times people are looking for you to wear many hats and they're a little disappointed when you're like, this is what I can do. And I think for me, I was definitely a people pleaser for a long time. So I would try to figure out how I could help them in the moment, but also realizing, like what your role is as a teacher in your community, and that's okay if, like, I'm a teacher, like I'm a yoga teacher, that's what I'm here to do, and that's enough. Like that is enough, and I understand that yoga also, can bring other things up to the surface, and like people are processing a lot of things, but the amount of time that we're holding space for people can be very extended past what even, what capacity I have. And I think boundaries are so important, and being really aware of what that means for you. I know, because I think sometimes I can pull back too much too. I feel like now I'm like, okay, like do you want to have a certain level of connection to your community? But also you don't want to be overpouring as well. I think for me, I know we've talked on this, is like, I don't really, believe in like guru culture and like having the teacher be like this pillar that's untouchable and like in their own world. So I do want to stay like grounded in my community, but I think having those like boundaries is what keeps it safe for both sides, you 100%. Know. I didn't realize that for sure.
It's a real dance too, because you want to be able to connect and share, you know, that you are a human and going through your stuff too, but also be private enough that you're not giving yourself away, or being too open to your students. It's a very, very tricky balance. And I think for every teacher, it's different. I know some teachers who share beautiful personal stories in their teaching all the time, and they weave it in such a way that you just feel so connected to that teacher, and they kind of offer you all these like pearls of wisdom through their experience. And then I know other teachers who never share anything about their personal story, but they teach a fantastic class.
Yeah.
So I think that one is a constant work in progress, and definitely been a lesson from the students. A positive thing I've learned from my students is, I guess it's just, I've just been very inspired by students' consistency to keep getting on their mat. Keep coming to class. Like, and they come to every class.
It's insane.
And sometimes I think, oh my, you must be absolutely sick of hearing me talk or the way I cue this, you know, it's like, you've heard me say this a million times, but you're still here showing up for you, doing this some days I'm sure you don't want to be here on your mat, but you're here and you've chosen to be here. I have to be here. I'm the teacher. You know, the fact that they've made the choice to come, I find that so inspiring, because anyone who commits consistently to anything is inspiring to me. I mean, healthy habits is inspiring. So when I see them continuously showing up, I feel like that makes me a better teacher for them.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
It holds me so accountable too, because I'm just like, how am I? Because I'm guilty of it. Like, I have some early morning classes at 7 or 7:30. I used to teach like 6:30s. And like, sometimes I was rolling out of bed. Like, I live across the street, so I'm just like showing up. And then, you know, then I think about like, wait, they have to like go to work after. So they probably had to like prep their lunch, like get everything set up, bring their clothes so they can shower after and like go straight to the office. And I'm like, okay, so they have a routine. So they probably have gone to bed at a certain time and like done the whole thing. And I was like, wow, like the self-care piece for myself I'm still working on that. You know, I'm 40 now and I'm still working on that, but it's like having, like, they are a mirror for me constantly to remind me that I'm like, oh no, like you are again, that's not my personality to be like a ray of sunshine first thing in the morning, but I think there's a difference between being depleted and tired and not prioritizing yourself and your own self-care and then showing up for other people than it is to come with your cup full and then show up for other people. Yes. So I feel like it's also, I was doing a disservice to them and myself. So it's like both ways. It's so, I say this all the time. Like, to me, I stopped teaching private classes a few years after because of COVID. And I think the one thing, you know, public classes have their like positives and negatives, but I think the positive for me is just having that mirror constantly of people that are from all different walks of life or all different levels of stress and commitments. And, you know, if they have kids, they have this, they have that, and they're there and they're showing up and they're like, it's a wonderful, like, honestly, I have that experience often where I'm just like in the studio after, like, wow, like the energy in this room of like all of you that have shown up is just like, we all walk out like, that was quite the experience. Like, it's just like, and this is our job. Like, so I think that's the thing is like, it really is like, and can be this beautiful thing if you really open yourself to the full capacity of what the experience can be. And I think that's what I have learned from them is that like I can naturally be a very like cold, closed person. And I think, you know, a lot of us, you know, we have trauma or things that come up and happen. But the more I've done yoga, the more open I've become. And yes, I may not be like to a certain level. Like some people are just super warm and open, and I'm sure they have to work on boundaries to pull back. And I think they have like opened me up to like, you know, it's okay to share aspects of yourself. And I think, whether it was my hypermobility or just like, you know, I'm from a different country, I'm from a different culture. Like there's so many aspects of you as a yoga teacher that you can put in. And I think they, as practitioners, do the same thing, like hearing about like, oh, this is what job I do. I'm like, that's why I come. Or like, I'm so stressed out because my child is crazy and this or that. Like, it's like they all have their reasons, but all the reasons is because they're showing up for themselves. Like they need this for themselves and they make that commitment. And I just like, if I look at my life, sometimes I'm like, am I doing that in like other areas? Like, am I getting enough sleep? Am I drinking enough water? Am I doing all these things? And it's like, it actually is really hard to show up for yourself, especially in society now. Like we're all working so many jobs and running around and there's so many, like so much expectations and like obligations. But I think yoga, the reason why I'm sure I will teach forever is because it is that thing that holds me accountable to be a better person. And I think for me, it's so important how I show up in the world, not just like on my yoga mat, but like at the grocery store, like when I go to the doctor, like when things don't work out the way I want them to, how does that version of Kris show up? And I really wanted to make sure as I've aged that I can show up in a better way, because I think we've all been there where we're kind of horrified on like ways that we haven't handled situations well, or like the way I used to handle stress, like, ooh, like I feel like I was not regulated for a very long time. Like, I don't think I even understand what nervous system regulation was, which is valid. But I think actually understanding the difference and feeling that shift within myself, and then watching people on their mat like treat themselves badly or treat themselves well. That's the other thing. It's just like, wow, this person gives themselves so much grace. Like I am so honored when somebody's in my class and they're like, you know what, this is not working for me. I'm going to child's pose it up right now. I'm going to do this instead. It's just like most people don't have the courage to do that, to say like, hey, my body's not liking this. Like, I don't care if everyone's looking at me. I don't care if the teacher's looking at me. Like, because again, like if anything I could put out into the universe, it's just a reminder that like us as teachers, we're just sharing like our one perspective. So like if you come to a class and it's like not working for you, it's like no teacher should be offended that you need to adjust that to work for what you need in that moment. And like I was teaching last night, it was like an 8 p.m. candlelit where it was so nice and like such a good vibe. But there was a senior in my class and she definitely was doing her own thing. And I thought the whole time, I was like, I had not met her, because again, this is why I like public classes. It really keeps you on your toes. And like, I was like, oh gosh, in the corner, just doing her thing. And I'm just like, she hates this. It's like, she's completely doing her own thing. I mean, versions of it for sure, but like definitely doing her own thing. And then like she was the last person to leave, like getting her stuff. And then I realized it was just that was how much care she was treating herself with, that she was like, I'm not going to match your energy. Like, this is where I'm at today. And I came for the experience and I want to be a part of it, but like, I can only do this much today. So she just started doing things seated. So I went over, I was like, if you need any help with it, and she was like, I've got it. And I was like, amazing. So everything, she would just like bring it back down. And then after, she was just like, thank you so much. Like, that was exactly what I needed. And blah, blah, blah. And then she left and I was like, but I didn't. And I told her, I was like, I didn't do anything.
That was all you.
That was all you. And I was like, and that's what I've realized now is that like they teach every class I teach, I probably learned something, because I'm just like, wow, like everybody is on their own individual journey on their mat. And if you're open to like really see and receive, like you can gain a lot of wisdom from the people that walk into your room.
Thank you, students. Thank you. Really. So we know that like, obviously this yoga industry has gone through many evolutions, COVID being one of them. We're now in a world of online yoga teacher training, yoga on social media, what else? We're seeing all sorts of hybrid type yoga fusion classes. There's a lot. there's a lot going on. And I understand that people want to stay current and fresh and with the times and want to be the hot new thing. So what have been the major shifts that you've noticed the most and have maybe impacted or influenced you or the way that you're teaching the most?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours on the shift of humanity since COVID, but I won't get into that. What I'll say is that, yeah, I think whether we want to be aware of it or not, there is a significant chunk of time there that I think just kind of evaporated into thin air. Like a lot of people are just like that 4 years. Like it was lost. Like I feel the exact same. Like it really was. And I think, there's a lot of underlying like anger, resentment, like whatever people are holding that has not been processed from that time. And it just was the reality that we all just had to keep going. Like you just had to keep moving forward. And I don't know, depending on, what a lot of us, had financial stresses, whether it was health issues, like what other things that came up for you. I think they started obviously to bring that into the rooms and to the studios. And I think it impacted me as a teacher in positive and negative ways. I think having to adapt to, in my opinion, people that had their nervous systems were just shot. Like I think a lot of people have not recovered, and they tend to go like 0 to 100. So it is like, and I think within the movement, like I still have people where it's like, they are running. They want things to go fast. They do not want to sit in poses. They do not want to feel things. They want to just get the benefits of the practice without actually like sitting in it, because it is that discomfort piece. And I think that really aligns with COVID. Like that was the first time I really saw it within the world, where it was just like, oh, wow, like because we have to do with less than, people are quite uncomfortable and they refuse to sit in that discomfort because they want their lives to be the way that it was before, and they want to be able to control the outcome. So I think now it's also realizing when I walk into a room that I don't know what's going to happen that day. And I don't know if it's like what mood people are going to be in, but also realizing that like I don't have to change and like conform and shift to like meet everybody's needs, because that's just impossible. So I think it gave me more grounding within myself to realize that like this is all I can do. Like this is as much as I can do as a facilitator. And then again, what they take from that is up to them. But I think that, yeah, just not having to people can be in public classes as well, but even privates as well. They want things specifically their way, or they want it like what they've signed up for. And it really is just up to you to decide if like that aligns with you still, and allow people to like work through things, process things. But, just not taking things personally and realizing like someone had a terrible experience or whatever. Like a lot of that has nothing to do with me half the time. And it's just like stuff they were already carrying. And you can see that with people that are carrying things into the room sometimes, and how they're treating themselves. And if they're not getting exactly what they wanted, they're rejecting the practice. Like, it's like, that's not what I signed up for. It's very like, people are very like, well, if I've come in for this, then like, this is what I want. Or if this is the teacher I want and that teacher isn't there, they're not very happy about it. And it's like, there's not as much like flexibility, because I think, classes are expensive now. And it's like, it's a luxury to be able to go to yoga classes. So it's like, I understand that it's not, people want to make sure that they're getting the service that they're signing up for. But also I think it's a two-way street of like everybody understanding, the limitations also of the practice, and like what we're there to do as a facilitator, and like what is not our job, and like what, and working with studios and all that kind of stuff. But I think, just in general, there was definitely a big shift there. And I think I've had to, and I see that because I also work in a yoga studio. So I see that every day, all day, with how people react before they enter the studio. So I know that it's very prevalent still in our society. So it's nice to see, I see yoga as, this grounding practice that can continue to bring us back home to ourselves. And I hope, that continues. I think yoga has been like a healing practice for so many people. And I think we're just like, people are now having the capacity to start to open themselves to like, what actually happened, because I think more people like even, it's back to school season and at the studio, we have way more people signing up. And the amount of people that I have signed up for passes in the last week that were like, oh, this is my first time back since COVID. Like we're still talking about it. Like it's still like people do not feel safe to come back to public classes. It changed the way people, I think, view being in a room with like 60 people breathing in the same space. And like, it really, it's a choice and it may not align with what everyone wants. So I understand the shift to like online platforms and also just the convenience. I think we all didn't have that before where it was just like, well, I don't necessarily have to leave my house. Like I can fit, or if I don't have the time, I can fit it in. But I personally, like even as a teacher, I am going to public classes at least a couple of times a week. For me personally, there's something about sharing space with other humans that are also processing and going through this journey together. That does something for me that I really need in my life. And I need that aspect of community. So I think it's just like finding the balance though of like, as we say, but
like everyone's navigating their own post-COVID journey. Mm-hmm. And I agree wholeheartedly with what you said about the attachment piece and the control piece. It's very scary when something like a global pandemic comes along and literally pulls the rug from underneath you and you realize like how little control you have. So then when something like that has subsided, you then try and gain control in other places and other areas to make you feel more safe. And so it is interesting now to wander around a room before class and see these tight, tense bodies that are not quite ready to surrender or let go or release or whatever, because it's really hard. It's really hard. It's hard to relinquish some of that control. It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to share space with other people and trust that you're going to be okay. So yeah, that has been definitely a big shift in negotiating with our students and helping them to still understand that the space that we hold as teachers is a safe space for them. We're just kind of reiterating that again and again and again.
Well, I was going to say one more thing too. Yeah. Like I feel like hands-on like adjustments has really shifted as well. But I would say I still do them. Definitely with people I know that are actively coming to my classes, or I'm always, even before, obviously like asking for permission is so important. But I think I never really thought of before too, is like, that's very much like you're on the spot, right? So like if you're in a class, you're in a posture and a teacher comes up behind you, it's like, oh, can I adjust your hips? Right? It's like, some people I think say yes when they want to say no. Yeah. Because like I never thought about that, but like it is very like jarring to be like, I don't know where you're at in the midst of your practice. And then I'm coming up to you around, and like talking to you. First of all, just even talking to you individually can be jarring for some people. So, it made me start to realize that like, oh my gosh, we're like up in your space a lot without your consent. Like it doesn't seem natural to me anymore. Like I try to give people a lot more space than I think I used to. I think I used to think being a good teacher was being like up in there and helping them and but I also think sometimes the practice now is that like, it's okay if they don't have 100% perfect alignment, if they can't if their body is not getting to exactly where I want it to be through just verbal cueing and stuff, like there's a lot of times now I'll pull people aside at the end of class and be like, hey, I have a tip for you next time when you're in your warrior 1 or whatever it is. Because I feel like you're in a warrior 3 and I'm trying, like, how do I, like, it's just like there's certain postures too. I'm like, you are going to fall out of that as soon as I say, hey, like, like there's just no way to do that. And I just feel like now also, I think, the legalities and liabilities of that stuff with public classes, it's, the amount of injuries and also realizing for my body, like I would be absolutely horrified with where my body is at now if someone put their hands on me in a yoga class. That's how I feel about it now. Like I actually don't want people touching me. And I never thought about, people probably felt like that before and I didn't even realize it. But like after COVID now, I think it's just very much like a personal space thing.
Yeah.
And I can sense they like that I don't get in their space.
And there are teachers that will get up in your space.
Oh, for sure.
And the students that love that are those classes.
For sure.
And that's fine. It's funny because we haven't talked about that. And I'm on the same page as you.
Yeah.
I used to give a lot more hands-on pre-COVID. Since COVID, I've backed right off. And now it's more... I don't do hands-on assists to adjust alignment. I'll do more of a hands-on, I guess it's still called a hands-on assist, but more of like a gentle touch or a nurturing touch or a care touch, like a shoulder press or, lengthening of the back of the neck. Usually something in Shavasana, but only if I'm with a group that I've known for a long time, only if it's a small setting. I'm not going around 15 people anymore and doing like lifting the legs. And I'm just not, for my own body and energy that I can give out and for legality, safety and people's comfort levels. I do think what you touched on there was really important because the practice is about going in.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have said at the start of class that you are going to be coming around and giving hands-on assists, how much as a student are you going to be in your body for that class?
True.
And how much are you going to be waiting and looking around for this teacher who might come and give you an assist, who might be looking at you? Like, is it too much of a distraction to have that element of the class, or is it helpful? I really like what you said too about giving the suggestions or like I saw you piece at the end of the class when they're leaving, because then it's that food for thought to take home with them. They've stepped off their mat. They can go and practice that at home or in the next class or whatever. It's not just like you said, that immediately coming up to them mid pose, mid practice, asking permission from them saying yes because maybe they don't want you to feel bad.
Yeah. Oh,
right.
No, it's true.
When actually they didn't really want it, and now they're completely thrown off because now they're in their head of like, oh, was I not doing it right? Or why did they come to me? Or like, oh, that felt kind of weird. Or oh,
no, it's so true. You're also like singled out. It's like being in school, like you didn't think about it. Like some people are like horrified by that stuff. They don't want to be the person when the teacher's like, can you read this part? It's like, no, I cannot.
No,
so
it's like they don't want any attention on that. Like I'm the same. When I go to a yoga class, I want to be inconspicuous.
Yeah.
Is that the right word? Inconspicuous. I want to be anonymous. Like I want to come in and do the class and be in my body and get in my zone. Of course, if the teacher's like, you're doing that really badly, like, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be like in the spotlight or singled out. Or
I like that too.
Something.
It's my time.
Yeah.
I mean, half the time, I don't even know why. I swear, I go to a couple public classes a week, and half the time I end up crying at some point too. And I'm just working through something, and I'm just like, oh no, like I need that time for myself. And so it's just like, yes, like I'm hearing things, and it's like I'm present, and like I want your guidance, but like, yeah, I understand now that everyone's experience is different, and it's okay if they don't benefit from something that you're like, oh, this would be next level, like adjustments and that. But I think, again, it's like being okay if they don't want to partake in that.
I love it. I agree. Oh, this is a good one. Thinking back on teacher training, so everything we learned there, is there something from that you've taken with you through your teaching career to date? Or is there something that you thought was a yoga rule back then, or an essential teaching that now you've completely changed your mind about?
Oh, interesting. I can think of a couple of things right away.
Mm-hmm.
Right away, which she probably doesn't know. It's fine. But one of our teacher trainers, actually, Allison, she isn't aware, but I realized that when I met her, she was the first. I think I aligned myself with teachers that were exactly like me. So I gravitated towards people who moved their bodies the way I did. And I think Allison was the first person that I've met that I was like, whoa, you really break it down. Like and it's not that, what do you call it? How do I explain that? It's just that like, it was like a softer approach, a kinder approach. I think she was the first person that I heard speaking about too, like, even just like that yoga wasn't a competition and it wasn't about like what the posture, like the things that I'd worked so hard to be recognized for that had no value to Allison. And I was like, you're not seeing me. Like, I'm here. I'm yoga. Like,
reaching for the gold star.
Like, you're not giving me a star. Like, I should be at the head of the class. Like, what? And I'm not saying that she didn't value what I had and what I was bringing to the table. It was just, I think she had the awareness that like, that was just the beginning of my journey. And there was so much that I was not like, I had not been exposed to. And that, you know, obviously, but I think watching her, like, obviously I didn't have that awareness back then, but like now along the way, seeing that like, oh, teacher trainers, like you have to hold space for people that are in like, the journey that they're on, they may never be in a space that you're in. Like we all go in different paths and like we may not fully align ever, but being able to see that like what offering that they have and what you have is still beneficial. And then just like opening the door to be like, let's look at it a different way. Like, let me show you this side of things. And it wasn't like a pushy way. It wasn't like a right or wrong way. It was just more of like, this is how I do things. Like, what do you think about that? Like, have you thought about doing it this way? So I just felt like when I sequenced things, when I did things, like she was always like, that's great. But what about the person that can't do X, Y, and Z? What about the person? And again, my brain was very much like, competition yoga. I felt like in the beginning, like I was a competitive dancer. And then I was just like, okay, well, if you're good at yoga, then you should be able to do everything. And, just realizing so quickly that I was just like, wow, that is not going to get me ahead. Is like, if I actually really need to take it back a notch and, open myself to like different ways of like doing this thing. So that was a big takeaway. Sure.
Like the permission piece for me was the big part. The permission to soften, the permission to do less.
Yeah.
The permission.
Less. Like, like what?
I was like, what are you talking about? Like, and that being celebrated.
Yeah.
And I was just, that blew me away. And I remember getting really emotional about that in training, that like, wow, like I've been so hard on myself.
Yes.
And that, I mean, taking that lesson was away with me, was like, has stuck with me to this day. And I just hope that I give my students that permission to feel like whatever they do on their mat that day is enough. The fact that they got there and they rolled out their mat. If you're here for Shavasana for an hour, good for you.
Literally.
Like, I am jealous that you are going to lie on the floor for an hour and just listen to the music and close your eyes. Like, it's so beautiful.
Hearing you say that, it's just like so sad to think about. It's like, yeah, I didn't have that grace for myself at all. So it makes sense that I wasn't going into a teacher training thinking about giving grace to other people that way, because I did not treat myself that way at all.
No.
Like, it's still a battle for me now to constantly be like, Chris, that's doing a disservice to you right now. Like, you need to like take the sick day or do the whatever. Like, it's still so hard for me to do those things. It's
still a work in progress. Yeah. It always will be, I think, 'cause it was so ingrained in us from, our dance training.
Well, they do say dance is very like militant. It
for sure.
has. Yeah, like it's so structured.
Depending on your lineage, but a lot of it is very structured. Yeah.
The other part?
And just if there was anything you've changed your mind about, like a yoga rule that you learn in teacher training that now you're like, no, I don't agree with that. Or
I guess I think that where I combined now, like with my disability and stuff, functional movement has made yoga more accessible to me. So sometimes I think for me, I used to think that if I strayed from the practice at all, that was bad. Like that I couldn't incorporate anything else to my sequencing outside of what was taught to me. And I think I've realized actually the benefit of moving my body for decades in a different way has benefited me to actually sequence things that I think are more accessible, that might add some non-traditional aspects into my practices. But hopefully that is part of the reason people enjoy my classes. So I think realizing that it's okay, that it doesn't have to be like 100% like cookie cutter this way to be like a good teacher, to sequence a good way. Like, I just think a lot of my favorite teachers are people that don't necessarily like teach like a flow a specific way. Like, I don't know, I feel like I've had so many mentors along the way that have, obviously they've been influenced by different things, and it's nice to see that what makes them such a strong teacher is the life they've led and the things they've picked up along the way. And yes, I think the foundation is so important, but having that strong foundation and being able to play within that, I think is actually, for me, what has taken my practice and my teaching to another level is really actually organizing in my brain that it's just like, it's okay to go outside of this box a little bit.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, again, once it's like safe and accessible and goes with, like, I always make sure things like it makes sense. But I think, that was it. The lengthening of the practice for me, it was like straight legs and like hyperextending and like getting your head to your knee. And like everything was just like, to me, it's so inaccessible for the average person that I'm just like, why can't we have a little micro bend here? And like, why, like, it's okay if your mudra, if you cannot keep your fingertips glued together, if that feels like it's adding stress and tension to your body, soften your hands. But that's not the mudra. It's like, I understand that, but I think that's the thing as a facilitator now, it's okay if we're not in the exact quote unquote yoga shape.
I think that's the evolution of the practice too, right? We're all becoming more educated. We have more strings to our bow too. Like, we're not all necessarily just trained in yoga. We've probably done some Pilates or aerobics instruction or spin or nutrition or whatever. And so we're bringing all of these strands to our quote unquote yoga classes, but they've actually become this holistic practice of just feeling better. And so it's, sometimes you will teach a Hatha class, like you were saying, that is it's more strength based Hatha practice. Yes, you're going to see some traditional poses in there, but you're probably also going to be seeing some non-traditional things thrown in there too. But you're going to leave that practice probably feeling stronger and safer and more stable in your body, and maybe more educated. And I think it should be celebrated and welcomed, because we are in a shifting, changing world, and our practice is going along with that too, hopefully. And we're all becoming better educated. And we have to remember that the practice of yoga was originally for guys with narrow hips. And, so we've come so far from that place that I think, and there's still so much further to go, that I think we should be celebrating breaking some of the yoga quote unquote rules. Yeah.
Because then it makes it accessible too. Because I'm like, how do you if it's like there's a rule and there's a standard, then how is that accessible? Because then it's just like majority. I feel like I'm saying that often now, because there is like, it's a vulnerable thing to go to a public class with like 50 other people and then watching these people put themselves into these crazy shapes. Like if you as a facilitator can help bring them back constantly to like their body is their body, your body is your body. Like I don't care if you're super like, you know, even me being super flexible and stuff, there's still certain shapes like I cannot get into. My body will not allow me to. Like that is normal. Like, I think just normalizing that, like, yes, certain things, it's designed for everyone to participate, but like, were we thinking about like the person that has a C6 fused with their C7 and like whatever? It's like, no. So it's just like, you have to work just like in life to adapt to where you're at. Like your yoga practice should be no different.
100%. Okay, so hopefully we're both going to be having another conversation in another 10 years when we reach 20 years of teaching. So if you were to like make some predictions or manifestations or projections for the next 10 years of your personal teaching career, what would you like that to look like?
Yeah, I think now I want to evolve into doing more like retreats and like teacher trainings and just like diving in deeper with people and like really being on, you know, whether it's a week-long journey or like a few months, like just really like getting to know people on a deeper level and being able to hold space in that way. Like I think there's, you know, different layers through your practice that you want to evolve. And I think the more that I've connected with people, the more that I'm like, oh, there's even more that we could dive into that you really can't in like public classes or even just with like privates once a week or like, you know, it's just, and I think seeing the group dynamic is, and being a part of those things, like the co-regulation with people, like I really do thrive off of that aspect of yoga is like the humanness and what are we all here doing together. And like, you know, life is hard. There's like, it just is. And like, anytime I can find a safe, soft place to go is like what I'm looking for. And I feel like if there's communities that I can continue to build, that, you know, not only do I provide that for, they provide for me as well. It's just like what a whole human I could be like, you know, as I continue to age and grow, it's just like, there's different understanding too of like, different bodies and as you age and like your needs in those bodies and in those shapes and like your emotional needs and your spiritual needs shift. And I just learned so much as well just from like some of the senior community that I teach and like the things that come up for them and the things that they share. And I just think being in spaces where maybe you're sharing meals with them and like it is more of like time spent, it kind of, and I think that's why I value our teacher training experience. It's not something I necessarily have the time or the ability to do always. And I think that is something I want to prioritize more in the future because I think it seemed like a big challenge to get there. And now I'm like, no, you have to just like want it for yourself and like keep building and know that you will, you know, it'll unfold the way it's supposed to. But I'm excited to continue that journey of like just connecting more with people and like finding, you know, that community that is, you know, receptive, fully receptive.
Yeah.
Like
to go a bit deeper.
Yeah. On the same page, but again, with boundaries and making everybody safe and that kind of thing. But I do think that, you know, I've met some of the most wonderful people and, you know, I've learned so much from them. And I think that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't share space outside of the studio as well. So I think, and also like I'm an artist and I really want to bring, painting aspects into my, retreats and that like more somatic healing and things like that. I think they have done wonders for me and have helped me evolve so much and, things that I, you know, it's parts of me that I would be able to share with people that I think are very healing aspects, to me and like, beneficial. Like sometimes you just don't know until you've done it. Like get a big sheet of paper and have like, you know, go hard with any color you want or whatever. Like what comes up for you is very similar to like what you would experience on a mat, but in a different way. And I think, being able to combine those parts of myself into more retreats or trainings would be awesome.
Oh, I love that.
Right? I'm like,
just
so
let
fun.
the creativity flow.
Let's have some good food. And
well, here's to 10 years of more learning, more growing, more evolving, becoming better teachers, being inspired by our communities. And let's see what another 10 years looks like.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. Very grateful that we've had this 10 and that we've reconnected, because we were super connected at the beginning, and then kind of, life, COVID time, everything shifted, and now we are reconnected again. So that's been really special. We have one more question for all guests on the podcast, and it is, how do you live your yoga? It's a big one, I know.
Oh, wow. You go first.
Okay. Well, I mean, it could change too, time to time. Right now, how I'm living my yoga is in the practice of, I'm trying to live in the practice of surrender more, which is very tricky for me because I am a rising Virgo and I like organization and order and schedules. So that's very tricky for me, but I'm coming up to 40 next year, and I feel like I'm processing a lot of things around that period, that like aging piece. And it's making me a bit panicky and like I need to rush to accomplish things. But I'm trying to give myself more grace and realize that there's still lots of time, and to surrender into divine timing, and that, what I have right now is enough. And if more is coming, great, but to be more content in the moment. So I think, the surrender piece is my practice and how I'm living my yoga at the moment.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, hard work.
Yeah.
I mean, that made me think right away about like something. Well, there's a few things. Detachment for sure is something that I've been working on a lot. I think similar. Can be very type A and like want things a specific way, or like I want to meet these specific marks by this time or whatever. So giving myself more grace and then realizing that there is no right or wrong, that I can just live, and what unfolds. Like all I can really do is, I think where yoga for me is like, it's like making sure I get to the studio a couple of times a week, making sure I can show up for myself in the mornings every day, and like be able to continue that connection to myself so that I am making choices not out of like fight or flight or survival mode, but out of actual genuine desire that I know that is my purpose and that's where I want to be going, because I think that it can get really cloudy and there's a lot of noise and we got to filter out a lot of stuff. So I think that because I had a lot of like self-abandonment and like people pleasing stuff that I have left in the last decade, but it was a huge part of my identity in all aspects. And I think that's actually like yoga has really helped me work through those things and continue to, that it is very easy to slip back into old patterns. So I think continuing, and that's why I say like yoga for me is just a constant mirror to be like, what are you doing? Because like, I just naturally, and I think it was, taught to me. And I think we all are guilty of that. It's like patterns we pick up as children. And then all of a sudden we're these adults, like I'm 40 and I'm like, what happened? And I didn't even know that was a negative trait that I was carrying for like decades and decades that were doing, detrimental things to me. It's just like, like having that awareness now, I'm so grateful for. So that's how I'm living. My yoga now is trying to really show up for me and then allow my life to just unfold instead of gripping on so tightly for the outcome, because, most of these things happen or don't happen regardless of how you feel about it. So just letting things flow is like hard.
It's hard, but it's so
necessary.
Yeah, it's the path. Yeah,
it is.
Well, this has been so wonderful to kind of reflect on 10 years of teaching. Thank you for joining us for this conversation, everyone. It reminds us just how much our yoga continues to shape and guide us, not only in our teaching, but in the way we are living our lives. And if you've been practicing or teaching for a while, we hope our stories have sparked some reflections of your own. And if you're just starting out, may this be a reminder that your yoga journey is always unfolding, with lessons waiting in every class, every student, and every moment on and off the mat. So until next time, keep living your yoga. Thank you, Kris. And we will chat again soon. Take care, everyone.